So, coincidences are literally what I call a conspiracy of improbabilities. Many improbable events come together.
It starts subtly. You think of someone, and moments later they text you. You glance at the clock, 11:11 again. A song plays that mirrors exactly what you're feeling or thinking. At first, you dismiss it. Just coincidence, you tell yourself. Nothing more than chance. But then it happens again and again. Patterns begin to emerge, and slowly you start to wonder, what if this isn't random? What if something or someone is trying to reach you? Because once you begin to understand synchronicities, you realize something profound. Reality isn't what you thought it was, and after that, it never feels the same again. Welcome to the world of synchronicities. This is the world of synchronicities. Not random events, but signs. Hidden threads connect everything. Clues left behind by something deeper, something that sees far beyond what we do. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung was one of the first to explore this. He called synchronicities meaningful coincidences. They weren't caused by anything we could measure, but they weren't random either. They had purpose. They carried a message. According to Jung, synchronicities are how the unconscious mind communicates with us. They are bridges between the inner and outer world, reminding us that everything is connected. But here's the part that will shake your sense of what's real. Once you start noticing these moments, they multiply. The more you see them, the more they appear. It's as if reality itself begins to speak your language, responding to your thoughts, your feelings, your frequency. And just like that, you begin to realize something shocking. Your consciousness isn't just inside your head, it's shaping the very world you live in. It's more than just confirmation bias. Synchronicities are often dismissed by those who live entirely in logic. They say it's just confirmation bias. You notice what you're looking for. But there's more to it than that. Entire traditions have built themselves around this idea. In ancient Egypt, priests believed that signs from the gods appeared through natural events. In Taoism, the flow of life, what they call the Tao, reveals itself through alignment, through ease, and through timing. If things are meant to happen, the universe arranges them. If something blocks your path repeatedly, it means your energy is misaligned. In modern times, we've lost touch with this kind of thinking. Everything must be explained, proven, and labeled. But those who understand synchronicities know they operate in a space beyond measurement. They are the whispers of a living universe, a universe that responds to your vibration, your presence, your story. To better understand this, there's a parable told in many forms, but it always carries the same truth. A man is lost in the desert, exhausted, ready to give up. Suddenly, he sees a trail of stones. He follows them one by one until he finds water. Did someone leave the stones? Did the wind arrange them? Or did his own will to survive manifest the path? The answer doesn't matter. What matters is that something guided him, and once he saw the signs, he knew he wasn't alone. That's what synchronicities do. They remind you that your life is not random, that your pain, your joy, your questions, they're all part of a greater puzzle. When you begin to trust these signs, life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance. You no longer force things to happen. You learn to follow. You learn to listen. You begin to realize that timing is not just important, it's everything. Some say synchronicities increase during spiritual awakenings. As your awareness grows, your sensitivity to the hidden patterns of life grows with it. You start meeting people at exactly the right time. A book appears that answers a question you didn't even know how to ask. A delay that frustrates you ends up saving you from something worse. These are not accidents, these are messages. The Lakota people of North America have a beautiful way of describing this. They say the Great Spirit speaks through nature, dreams, and the events of the day. Everything is alive. Everything has meaning. You are never separate from the world. You are a part of it, and it is a part of you. So when the wind changes direction, or a hawk flies overhead, or you dream of a river, you pay attention. The universe is speaking in symbols. It always has been. We just forgot how to hear it. The danger is this. When you ignore synchronicities, life becomes dull. You start to feel stuck, disconnected. But when you follow them, when you say yes to the mysterious timing of life, everything changes. Doors open, energy flows. You realize that. What you call your intuition might actually be a much older part of you, the part that still remembers the language of the universe. You may have felt it before, that eerie feeling that something unseen is guiding you. That sudden moment of clarity when everything just clicks. That moment when you meet a stranger and it feels like you've known them for lifetimes. These are not accidents, these are signals. Synchronicities do not obey logic, they obey resonance. They happen when your inner world begins to mirror your outer one. The ancient Hermetic teachings said, "As within, so without." In other words, the world you see is a reflection of the world you carry inside. When your thoughts, your energy, and your path align, the universe reflects it back. Not with fanfare, but with gentle nudges, with perfect timing, with small wonders that remind you you're exactly where you need to be. So what happens when you fully embrace synchronicities? When you stop brushing them off and begin to trust them? You change. You stop chasing. You stop fighting. You begin to allow. You begin to follow invisible breadcrumbs, not knowing exactly where they lead, but trusting that something greater is guiding your steps. And in that trust, something awakens inside you, a sense of connection, a quiet knowing, a powerful shift where life no longer feels like something happening to you, but something happening with you. You become a co-creator. But how can to cause these synchronicities to better benefit from them? Don't chase synchronicities, attract them with your actions. You can't chase a butterfly and expect it to land on your shoulder. The same is true for synchronicities. The moment you start chasing them, they slip away like mist between your fingers. They are not rewards for effort. They are reflections. And like reflections in water, they only appear clearly when the surface is still. Many people, after experiencing a powerful synchronicity, try to recreate the magic. They wait for signs. They overanalyze every little event. They ask the universe to speak again, hoping to find the same feeling of wonder. But this search comes from the mind, not the soul, and the universe doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to presence. To attract synchronicities, you have to first understand where they come from. They are not random gifts handed out by fate. They are mirrors. They reflect your state of being. If your energy is scattered, full of anxiety and impatience, the mirror gets foggy. You might still get signs, but you won't see them clearly, or you'll misread them. But when you're grounded, open, and in alignment, the signs become unmistakable. They arrive when you're not trying to make them arrive. This idea is found across spiritual traditions. In Buddhism, there is a concept called Wu Wei, which means effortless action. It's the art of flowing with life rather than fighting against it. When you're in this state, things align naturally. The right people come. The path unfolds. This doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you move from stillness, not from fear. You trust the river instead of thrashing against its current. If you want to attract synchronicities, focus less on finding them and more on becoming someone they are drawn to. That means tuning your energy. It means staying present. It means living with intention, not desperation. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned with truth, synchronicities come like whispers from the universe saying, "Keep going." Imagine two radios. One is constantly switching stations, full of static. The other is finely tuned to a frequency. Which one picks up the message more clearly? Your mind and energy work the same way. When you're constantly worrying, overthinking, or chasing outcomes, you become like the static. But when you become calm, intentional, and open, you become the tuned radio. The messages were always there, you just weren't able to hear them. There's a Sufi teaching that says, what you seek is seeking you, but the key is how you seek. If your search is frantic, desperate, or forced, you might block the very thing that's trying to reach you. But when your search is quiet, patient, and rooted in trust, what you seek has space to find you. So what can you do to make space for synchronicities? Start by cultivating stillness. This doesn't mean you sit in silence all day. It means you learn to carry a quiet center with you. Meditation, deep breathing, long walks in nature, these aren't just spiritual cliches. They shift your frequency. They clear the noise. They make you magnetic. Another way to attract synchronicities is to follow your curiosity. Often, the things you feel drawn to, for no clear reason, hold the key to your next step. A random book that catches your eye, a sudden desire to learn something new, or even a person you feel strangely pulled toward, these are threads. Follow them gently. Don't demand an answer. Let the pattern reveal itself in time. You must also release control. This is the hardest part for most people. We are taught to plan, to chase, to control outcomes, but synchronicities don't obey control. They show up when the energy is right, not when your calendar says they should. This is why rituals matter, not because they force things to happen, but because they prepare you to receive. Lighting a candle, journaling your dreams, setting intentions under the moon, these acts create containers for energy. They say to the universe, "I'm ready and I'm listening." In ancient Hawaiian spirituality, there is a practice called Ho'oponopono, based on cleansing the self through forgiveness and alignment. It teaches that when you heal yourself, you heal the world. Synchronicities increase not because the world changes, but because you do. Your energy becomes clearer, your path becomes less tangled, and suddenly things start showing up. Not because you hunted them down, but because your frequency called them in. Trying to force synchronicities is like trying to force someone to love you. It creates resistance. It turns the magic into something heavy and unnatural. You begin to question every moment, every detail, and in doing so, you push the signs further away. But when you act from love, from trust, from openness, synchronicities become your natural language. They come to those who are aligned, not those who are loud. Think of the farmer who plants seeds. He does not scream at them to grow. He does not dig them up every day to see if they're working. He waters them. He tends to the soil. He trusts the sun. He knows that the growth is happening, even when he can't see it. That's how synchronicities work. They grow in the dark. They bloom when the time is right. So don't chase them. Become the kind of person who doesn't need to chase them. Live in alignment with your soul. Speak your truth even when it's quiet. Do the things that light you up, even if no one's watching. Be kind when it's hard. Trust when you're unsure. Stay open, even when the path is unclear. And when you do, synchronicities come, not to entertain you, not to prove anything, but to confirm that you are on the right path. In this way, synchronicities are not the goal. They are the byproduct. They are the cosmic nods, the subtle winks, the silent echoes of your own alignment. They are not something you create. They are something you remember. They remind you that the universe is alive, listening, and speaking, always. But only to those who have learned how to listen. The universe speaks in symbols. Most people don't realize it, but the universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in symbols. It always has. Long before we invented alphabets and grammar, humans received meaning through signs, images, and archetypes. Dreams spoke in strange visions. Animals appeared at the perfect moment. Storms arrived with messages. Nothing was random. Everything meant something. The wise ones knew this. They listened with more than their ears. They read the world like a sacred book, one written in symbols, not sentences. This language hasn't disappeared. We've simply forgotten how to read it. You've probably had moments where a certain animal keeps appearing, on TV, in conversation, on the street, or you've noticed numbers repeating over and over. You see the same color in unexpected places. You hear a song that seems to speak directly to your soul. These are not coincidences. They're not hallucinations either. They're whispers, nudges, echoes from a deeper part of reality that is always trying to reach you. In Jungian psychology, a hidden layer of the human mind that contains shared images, myths, and symbols across cultures and time. He called these archetypes: the wise old man, the trickster, the hero's journey, the sacred child. These images live inside us, whether we know them or not. That's why the same kinds of stories appear in ancient Egypt, in Aboriginal myths, in Norse sagas, and in modern movies. The soul doesn't change, only the costumes do. Symbols speak directly to the soul. That's why they bypass logic and hit you straight in the heart. They don't need an explanation, you just feel them. The ancient Taoists believed the world was made of living patterns, not dead matter. They called it the Tao, the way. To walk in harmony with the Tao meant reading the signs, noticing the flows, and acting when the time was right. The Tao wouldn't give you a to-do list. It would send a butterfly or a shadow or a gut feeling. It would change the wind or the color of a leaf or the mood of a room. The world was alive, and every moment was speaking. One of the more obscure but powerful beliefs comes from the Kogi people, a hidden tribe deep in the mountains of Colombia. They believe the visible world is only the surface of reality. Beneath it, there is a world of thought, symbol, and intention. The Kogi train their spiritual leaders in total darkness for years, not to blind them, but to teach them to see the real language of the world. To the Kogi, a rock is not just a rock. A river is not just a river. Everything is alive and speaking in symbols, if your spirit knows how to listen. So what happens when you begin to learn this language? You stop reacting and start interpreting. You realize the universe is not against you. It's actually in conversation with you. That strange delay that saved you from an accident, that dream you can't stop thinking about, that symbol you keep seeing in different places. They're not annoyances or accidents. They're part of the dialogue. The more you notice them, the more they appear. There's a quiet agreement between you and the cosmos. I'm listening. And in return, it replies. This is why spiritual traditions encourage meditation, ritual, and solitude. Not to isolate you, but to sharpen your inner sight. The language of symbols requires silence. Not the silence of sound, but the silence of the mind. When you are still enough inside, the symbols come alive. The moon is not just a rock in the sky. It's the symbol of the hidden self, the inner tides, the mystery. Fire is not just fire. It's transformation, passion, destruction, and rebirth. Water is not just water. It's emotion, intuition, memory, and healing. These meanings are not just poetic. They are embedded in your nervous system. That's why they move you. Modern society tries to convince you that only logic matters, that numbers, facts, and productivity are the only true languages. But this cuts you off from the symbolic layer of life. And when you lose that connection, you start to feel empty, even if everything in your life makes sense. The soul doesn't thrive on logic alone. It craves meaning, and meaning is found in symbols. Social media, with all its distractions and noise, often drowns out these messages. Your mind becomes filled with other people's opinions, fears, and noise. The symbolic voice of the universe gets buried under 1,000 scrolling thumbs. But the good news is, you can tune back in. You can start today. Take a breath. Look around your space. What images are you drawn to? What colors, animals, and objects seem to pull at your attention? Don't judge them, just notice. Your subconscious is always listening, always collecting. Those symbols you feel attracted to might be guiding you. They might be trying to remind you of something you once knew but forgot. Symbols are not answers. They are keys. They open doors inside you that words never could. They awaken memories, truths, and callings that your soul has always carried. And once you open that door, reality begins to shift. You don't just live in the world, you dance with it. So, start small. Honor the symbols that come. Trust what you feel drawn to. Keep a journal. Paint them. Speak them. Let them guide you. Don't force the meaning. It will reveal itself when you're ready. Where do synchronicities come from? Still, there's a moment in every seeker's path when they ask themselves, are these synchronicities just strange coincidences, or are they being sent to me on purpose? The question is ancient. Even before the word synchronicity existed, people wondered if the patterns they witnessed were signs from a hidden hand, some divine force arranging the pieces just so. To understand whether synchronicities are shaped by divine providence, we have to explore how great thinkers, mystics, and philosophers across time have wrestled with this idea. The answers they gave were not always clear, but they all shared one belief: nothing happens by chance. Not really. Take the philosopher Plotinus, for example, the mystic thinker of late antiquity. He spoke of the One, a divine source from which all things flowed. Plotinus believed that every part of the world was connected, like branches from the same tree. When something moved at the far end of the branch, it affected the whole. So when an event occurred that seemed to hold meaning, when a bird landed near you at just the right moment, or a stranger echoed your thoughts aloud, Plotinus wouldn't call it random. He'd say it was the hidden order making itself visible. In his teachings, what looked like a random meeting was actually a reunion of deeper forces. He called it sympathy between things. To him, synchronicity was proof that there was harmony behind the veil, and we, if open enough, could hear the music. Centuries later, the great Muslim philosopher Al-Ghazali questioned how divine will played a role in the smallest events. He believed that everything in the world, every leaf that falls, every word that slips from the mouth, happens by the will of God. Even things that seemed meaningless were part of the divine script. Synchronicities, then, were not surprising. They were how the unseen world broke through into the seen. This idea wasn't unique to Al-Ghazali. In Hinduism, the concept of Ishvara, the personal God who knows and arranges everything, also suggests that certain events are gently nudged into place. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna reminds Arjuna that even when he thinks he is acting freely, his path is still guided by forces beyond what the eye can see. A meaningful event in this context could be the universe's reminder: you're still on the path, keep walking. Even in Christianity, the idea of divine providence has been explored deeply. St. Augustine, in his Reflections, once said, "Miracles are not contrary to nature, but only contrary to what we know about nature. What we call a strange coincidence could just be divine truth breaking into our limited understanding. He believed that God's wisdom arranged even the most ordinary events for higher purposes. A letter arriving at the perfect time, a delay saving someone's life. These weren't accidents. They were part of a divine conversation. But not everyone agreed with this view. Later, philosophers like David Hume challenged the whole idea. Hume was a skeptic. He believed we humans were pattern-seeking creatures, always trying to make sense of the random. He thought that what we called synchronicity was just our mind putting two unrelated things together and creating meaning where there was none. To Hume, it was psychological, not spiritual. Still, even Hume couldn't explain why some events felt so perfectly timed that they shook us to our core. Even if logic said they were coincidences, something inside us whispered, no, this meant something. And that's where psychologists, not just Jung, entered the picture. William James, one of the founders of modern psychology, believed that mystical experiences, including meaningful coincidences, were very real, not imaginary or foolish. He didn't try to prove that God arranged them, but he also didn't dismiss the feeling of being guided. For James, truth was what had an effect. If a synchronicity gave you direction, helped you grow, or showed you something your rational mind couldn't, then it was valid. It was real. James often explored the idea of a pluralistic universe, one that is open, dynamic, and alive with possibility. In such a world, synchronicities could be seen as intersections, places where your inner world and the outer world touch for a moment. Not forced, not random, but meaningful. There is another voice in this conversation, Baruch Spinoza, a philosopher who believed that God and nature were not separate. To him, everything was divine. Every tree, every star, every event was an expression of the same sacred energy. That meant synchronicities didn't have to be sent from above. They were divine, simply because everything was. You were not outside the universe waiting for a sign. You were part of the universe, and when your inner world was aligned, the outer world reflected that. In many mystical traditions, this is the unspoken truth. Synchronicities don't prove a God out there. They reveal a sacred order inside everything. In the East, the Taoist belief in Wu Wei, you don't chase signs or try to bend the world to your will. You live in flow. You move with awareness like water, and in doing so, the path lights up before you. Events line up. The right people appear. The exact words are said. Taoists wouldn't say the universe is giving you signs like a teacher handing out clues. They would say the universe is you, and when you are in balance, the world becomes a mirror. So are synchronicities arranged by divine providence? The answer is both yes and no. Yes, if you believe that the divine is in everything, that life is not random but layered, meaningful and alive. No, if you're looking for a puppet master in the sky, placing every coin and cloud just to get your attention. The truth might be even more beautiful than that. Maybe synchronicities happen when you become divine enough to notice them, when your eyes see more than facts, when your heart speaks louder than your mind, when your spirit stops rushing and starts listening. In that state, reality responds. The ancient parable of the rain says, two men walk through the storm. One curses the sky, soaked and cold. The other lifts his hands and smiles, grateful to feel the water on his skin. Same storm, different truth. This is how synchronicity works. Dreams, portals to other worlds. And once you begin to understand synchronicity, something else changes. Dreams stop being random images and start looking like another language, one whispered through the veil. There is a place between sleep and waking that few people talk about, where time unravels, faces shift, and messages come in strange symbols. You've been there. Everyone has. It's the dream world. If synchronicities are the universe nudging you while awake, then dreams are where it speaks more clearly. Many ancient cultures believed that dreams were not illusions of the brain, but visits to another realm. To them, dreams were just as real, if not more real, than waking life. The Zuni and Hopi tribes of North America believed that dreams offered a chance to meet spirit guides, to receive warnings, or to access knowledge that couldn't be reached with the thinking mind. In Egypt, dream temples were built where people would sleep in sacred chambers, hoping to receive healing or wisdom directly from the gods. They didn't see dreaming as a passive act. It was a practice, a sacred journey. Even now, dreams seem to defy logic in the same way synchronicities do. You think of someone you haven't seen in years, and that night they appear in your dream, only to text you the next morning. You dream of a strange place, and months later, you stand there in real life, stunned. This is not a coincidence. This is the same invisible thread that pulls synchronicities into your waking world. And it leads many to wonder, are dreams the place where those threads are stitched together? The Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "The waking have one world in common. Sleepers have each a private world." But what if he was only half right? What if the dream world is not private but shared, just hidden? What if dreams are the realm where synchronicities are rehearsed before they are performed in your day-to-day life? Some mystics believed just that. In Sufi teachings, the world is divided into layers. The one we see is the outer shell. Beneath it lies the Alam al-Mithal, the imaginal world. Not imaginary, but imaginal. A place that exists between spirit and matter. And dreams, they say, are the way we enter this world. It's where angels speak, where your soul travels, where symbols become instructions for the waking world. If that's true, then dreams aren't just a mirror of your thoughts. They're the blueprints for coming synchronicities. You might dream of a bird 3 times, only to see one land in front of you the moment you make a life-altering decision. You might hear a phrase in your sleep, and then recognize it on a billboard when you most need direction. These echoes, first whispered in dreams, are not accidental. They are messages from the deeper you. Psychologists have long tried to explain dreams away. They say it's your brain filing memories or solving problems unconsciously, and maybe part of that is true. But even Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, admitted that dreams carried hidden meanings, masks for desires we couldn't face. Later, Alfred Adler and Erich Fromm saw dreams as symbolic stories crafted by the psyche, each one meant to teach or warn. But beyond psychology, we begin to enter the territory of mystery, because even science can't explain why 2 people can share the same dream, or why you wake with a truth you didn't know before you slept, or how a dream can make you weep years later without knowing why. These are not illusions, they are doorways, and the more in tune you become with synchronicity, the more vivid your dreams become. It's as if something starts to open. The space between sleeping and waking becomes thinner, the messages become louder. Many people who begin to experience daily synchronicities report a change in their dreams. More clarity, more symbols, more visits. It's as if your spirit begins to speak in its natural language, and dreams are the classroom where you relearn how to listen. In the Taoist text Zhuangzi, there is a famous passage about a man who dreams he is a butterfly. He flutters about, happy, unaware he is dreaming. When he wakes, he's confused. Was he a man dreaming of a butterfly, or is he now a butterfly dreaming he is a man? This parable touches something deep, because it reminds us that our waking life and our dreaming life may not be as different as we think. And slowly, you stop brushing them off. You stop saying, "It was just a dream." You begin to see it as another scene in the larger pattern, a night message, a preview, a warning, or a blessing. It's also worth noticing how the modern world treats dreams. In the rush of schedules, screens, and social media, people wake up and instantly forget what their spirit spent hours doing. The first instinct is to grab the phone, not reflect. But in older times, people woke slowly. They stayed still. They asked, "What did the dream say?" That question was enough to change the entire day, because when dreams are honored, they start to show more. And when they show more, synchronicities follow. There's an old belief in some Eastern traditions that your dream body, the version of you that walks through dreams, is the same one that travels after death. That means dreams are not only portals between worlds, but portals between lives. The wisdom you gain there isn't only for tomorrow, it's for your soul's entire journey. So the next time you wake with a strange dream fresh in your mind, don't shrug it off. Write it down. Sit with it. Ask what it's trying to say. Then go out into your day with open eyes. Because chances are, something in the waking world is already echoing it back to you. That's how dreams and synchronicities dance. One weaves, the other responds. And if you're paying attention, you realize they are both coming from the same source, you. Not just the surface you, but the eternal you. The you that knows, the you that remembers. And when you finally accept that dreams are more than pictures in your mind, that they are whispers from the world beneath the world, reality stops being flat. It deepens, it becomes textured with meaning, and you stop walking blindly, because now you walk between worlds, and this will lead you to one important realization: the call. There comes a point in every seeker's journey where the synchronicities don't just confirm, they call. At first, they appear gently, a phrase overheard twice, a number that repeats, a song at the right time, but then they begin to take shape. They point somewhere, and that somewhere is almost always unfamiliar. It's tempting to cling to what's known, to want signs that make you feel safe. But synchronicity isn't about comfort, it's about direction. It whispers not to where you've already been, but to where you're meant to go. And that place is the unknown. There's an old parable you might have heard before, the story of the man and the cliff. A man is being chased by a tiger. He runs until he finds himself at the edge of a cliff. Below, another tiger waits. With no choice, he grabs a vine and climbs down, clinging halfway between death above and death below. Then, he sees a single strawberry growing from the side of the rock. He reaches out, picks it up, and eats it. It is the sweetest thing he has ever tasted. This story isn't really about tigers. It's about surrendering to the unknown. It's about choosing presence and trust in the middle of fear. In many ways, synchronicities ask the same thing. They don't show up to reassure you that nothing will change. They show up when they must. When you begin to follow synchronicities, life stops being a straight path. It becomes winding, mysterious. You lose the illusion of control, but in return, you find something far more precious: guidance. You start to feel as if you're being led, and sometimes that leading is uncomfortable. You may be pulled toward people who challenge you, places you never planned to go, decisions that don't make sense on paper. But deep inside, something says yes. And that inner yes, that tug, that quickening heartbeat, that's how you know you've touched the thread. In Eastern philosophy, especially in Taoism, there's the concept of Wu Wei. When synchronicities appear, they are moments where Wu Wei becomes visible. They're not forced. They arrive when you're still enough to notice. And once you notice, you're offered a choice: resist or flow. Those who resist often feel stuck. The signs stop. Life feels flat again. But those who choose to flow find themselves somewhere strange, beyond their comfort zone, into the unknown. but also into something greater than they imagined. Because the unknown is not the enemy, it's the womb of every transformation. Even the mystics knew this. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you." That is the essence of surrendering to synchronicity. It's not about being passive, it's about dancing with what's being offered. And sometimes what's being offered is a total undoing of the life you once built. You might lose friendships that no longer fit, walk away from jobs that drain you, move cities, change names, reinvent yourself completely. And through it all, signs will appear, not to reassure you that the road is easy, but to remind you that it is true. The beauty of the unknown is that it humbles you. It strips you of false certainty. You stop thinking you know how life should go. Instead, you learn how to listen, because sometimes the deepest synchronicity isn't something flashy. It's the quiet pull to go left instead of right. The dream that won't leave you, the book that finds you, the stranger that says exactly what you need to hear. It's the moment you realize you're not being asked to figure it all out. You're being asked to trust, to walk into the fog with faith that there is something on the other side. And with every step, the path appears, just 1 foot at a time. Some call it destiny, others call it the Tao. Some say it's the divine plan. But no matter the name, it always begins the same way, with a feeling that something just clicked, that a thread has been pulled, that you are being led. And yes, fear will come, doubt will whisper. The old version of you will try to pull you back. But synchronicities don't come to confirm your past, they come to awaken your future. So what do you do when they lead you into the unknown? You go. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if you don't have all the answers. You go because the signs led you there. You go because your soul already knows. And one day when you look back, you'll see it clearly. You'll trace the golden thread through every strange meeting, every sudden change, every impossible coincidence. You'll see that nothing was random. You'll see that the unknown was never empty. It was full of you, waiting. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.